Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we will study another important ingredient of concrete, and that is aggregate. So these are the content which we will discuss in this lecture. Well, concrete is one of the most versatile and widely produced construction material in the world. And as a composite material, concrete is composed of different grade aggregates or filler embedded in the hardened matrix of the cementitious material. And that is why today we are going to study those fillers. So I have shown you this picture, this slide earlier also. So today we are going to study the major fillers, which are fine aggregate and coarse aggregate. So today we are going to study the aggregates and their properties and how they influence on the property of the concrete. So as you see there, aggregate aggregate constitute a skeleton of concrete, and approximately about 3/4 of the volume of conventional concrete, it is occupied by the aggregate, and therefore it is inevitable that one ingredient occupying such a large percentage of the mass should contribute important properties to both the fresh and hardened concrete product. So aggregate is usually viewed as an inert material in the cement paste. Well, inert material means the material which is chemical, which is inactive, which doesn't react with the chemicals. But however, I say aggregate is not truly inert because physical, thermal, and sometimes chemical properties can influence the performance of the concrete. So therefore, without the study of the aggregate in depth and range, the study of the concrete is incomplete, because aggregate is again a very important ingredient of the concrete. So now, what are those effects of aggregate? We will try to understand them briefly, and then we will see them in detail. So aggregate in the fresh and plastic concrete. Well, when concrete is freshly mixed, the aggregates are suspended in the cement water paste, and the behavior of fresh concrete, such as fluidity, cohesiveness, and rheological behavior, is largely influenced by the amount and type and surface texture and size gradation of the aggregate. Uh, the rheological behavior means the study of the aggregate or study of the material uh, after the application of the force. So that is very important to know to understand the property of the aggregate. And other properties like surface texture, size, gradation, we will see them in detail in the later slides. Aggregate effect on hardened concrete. Well, although there is little chemical reaction between the aggregate and cement paste, but the aggregate contributes many qualities to the hardened concrete. And in addition to reducing the cost, aggregate in concrete can reduce the shrinkage and creep of cement paste. And moreover, aggregates have a big influence on the stiffness of concrete, the unit weight of concrete, strength, thermal property, bond, and wear resistance of the concrete. So now coming to the classification of aggregate. Well, aggregate can be divided into several categories according to different criteria, size, such as the size, sources, and the unit weight. So if we discuss about the classification of aggregate as per the size, well, aggregate can be classified in terms of size as coarse aggregate and the fine aggregate. So aggregate predominantly retained on 4.75 mm sieve, they are classified as coarse aggregate. So these are the sieves which are being used to classify the aggregate in terms of size. So the aggregate which retain on 4.75 mm sieve, they are classified as coarse aggregate. So generally the size of coarse aggregate range from 4.75 to 150 mm. I'm writing here, sorry. So size of aggregate ranges from 4.75 to 150 mm. So this is the size of coarse aggregate. For normal concrete, which we use in the structural member, such as beams, columns, the maximum size of aggregate which we use in our construction, it is about 20 mm. So generally 20 mm size of concrete, sorry, I mean the aggregate, it is being used in the concrete. And for mass concrete, the maximum size of aggregate can be as large as 150 mm. It can be as large as 150 mm, but in general cases, we use 20 mm size of aggregate. Similarly, aggregate which pass through the 4.75 mm sieve, then it will be classified as a fine aggregate. So the aggregate which passes through 4.75 mm and which retain on 150 micron sieve, then the aggregate will be classified as fine aggregate. So this fine aggregate, it it passes through 4.75 and ultimately retain on 150 micron meter. So 150 micron, I have discussed in the earlier lecture that 1 micron is actually the 1 by 1000 part of the mm. So fine aggregate, we can get it, in India, the river sand is the most commonly used fine aggregate, and in addition, the crushed rocks, rock fine can be used as fine aggregate. So in the photo, you can see the difference between the coarse aggregate and the fine aggregate. So this fine aggregate, sometimes we call it sand, and this is the coarse aggregate. So we can clearly see the grain size of the aggregate in both of these are different. The grain size in sand is small and the grain size in coarse aggregate is large. Now, classification of aggregate according to the source. Well, almost, first type of, aggregate can be classified in terms of natural aggregate. Almost all natural aggregate material, they originate from the bedrocks, and there are three kinds of rock, which are igneous rock, sedimentary, and metamorphic rocks. So these classifications are based on the mode of formation of rocks, and the concrete making property of aggregate are influenced to some extent on the basis of geological formation of the parent rocks, together with the subsequent process of weathering and alteration. So most igneous rocks make highly satisfactory concrete aggregates because they are normally hard, tough, and dense. Then coming to another type of aggregate, which is from the sedimentary. Well, igneous rocks or metamorphic rocks, they are subjected to weathering agencies such as sun, rain, and wind, and these weathering agencies decompose, fragmentize, transport, and deposit the particles of rock deep beneath the ocean bed, where they are cemented together by some cementing materials. So the quality of aggregate derived from sedimentary rocks, it vary in quality depending upon the cementing material and the pressure under which these rocks are originally compacted. So the property varies insignificantly. Then another aggregate, which is from the metamorphic rocks. Well, both igneous rocks and sedimentary rocks, they may be subjected to high temperature and pressure, which mainly cause the metamorphism. which changes the structure and texture of the rock. So many metamorphic rocks, particularly the quartzite and the genesis, they have used for the production of good concrete aggregates. So here I'm giving you the example of igneous rocks. So granite, aggregates from the granite and basalt. So these aggregates are basically belongs to the igneous rocks. Similarly, sedimentary, some aggregates are used of sedimentary rocks like the limestone, the sandstone. Sandstone aggregates are also used. So they are the type of sedimentary rock. Similarly, metamorphic, they are, their example is quartzite. So these aggregates of quartzite are also used in the construction. Other is GNEIS, gneiss. Okay. So now the another type of aggregate, according to the source, it may be the manufactured or synthetic aggregates which are produced artificially. So these kind of aggregates are man-made materials. They are resulting from the product or byproduct of industry. So some example of these aggregates can be a blast furnace slag. So yes, blast furnace slag can be used in cement as an additive. Also, they can be made as aggregate also. So some of the example of synthetic aggregates are like they can be expanded clay, expanded fly ash, blast furnace slag aggregate, something like that. Then classification of aggregate according to the weight, according to the unit weight. Well, they can be classified as lightweight aggregate, normal weight aggregate, or heavyweight aggregate. Lightweight aggregate, their weight is less than 1120 kg per meter cube. So all the aggregates those weigh less than 1120 kg per meter cube, they will be classified as a lightweight aggregate. And the application of these lightweight aggregate may be some lightweight structures, and the lightweight of these aggregate is mainly due to the cellular or highly porous microstructure. So the microstructure of these aggregate is highly porous, and that is why these aggregate are less dense, and that is why their unit weight is less. Similarly, in this lecture and in the upcoming lectures, I will be, my focus will be based on the normal weight aggregate, and their unit weight varies around, it is about 2400 kg per meter cube. So compared to the normal weight aggregate, their range is 24 kg per meter cube. Heavyweight concrete weigh around 29 to 6100 kg per meter cube. So these are very heavyweight aggregates, and they are used in some special types of structures, like in case of nuclear power plant, where we need to shield from the radiations. So to shield against the radiations, we use aggregates which are highly dense, and because of the denseness, their unit weight is very high. As a matter of fact, I can say that the unit weight of steel is 7850 kg per meter cube. So concrete as heavy as 6100 kg per meter cube, it can be produced. So then the strength of these aggregate can be, the hardness of these aggregate can be close to the steel. Now, coming to the another characteristic of aggregate, which is the shape. Well, shape of aggregate is influenced the property of fresh concrete as compared to the hardened concrete. So compared to the smooth rounded particles, angular and elongated particle require more cement paste. So here we see the different types of shapes of aggregate. So there you see some rounded shape particles. This is the flaky concrete aggregate. Similarly, the other shape is crushed concrete aggregate. So these are also the angular aggregates. So if I say the flaky aggregate, well, flaky aggregate are like their thickness, the thickness of these aggregates are very less as compared to the other two dimensions of these aggregates. So sometimes these aggregates are called flat aggregate, and the strength of these aggregates are very low. Similarly, we have the rounded aggregates, and we may have some angular aggregates. So other aggregate can be, say, elongated aggregate. So elongated aggregate is like the dimension of one dimension of this aggregate is very well developed as compared to the other two dimensions. So these elongated aggregates are, again, they are not useful. So mainly in the concrete, we are supposed to use only, either we use the rounded aggregates or the angular aggregates. These angular aggregates are also supposed to be like cubical, which means their all three dimensions should be well developed. They should not be like they are flat or they are elongated. Okay. So these are the descriptions of these different shape of aggregate. Like the rounded aggregates, they are mainly because of the water worn. So like we can find the rounded aggregates from the riverbed, and they are basically water worn. Similarly, we may have some irregular, partly rounded aggregates. So these irregular or partly rounded shaped are because of the attrition. Well, attrition is basically the wearing of the stones. So these wearing may make them partly rounded. Similarly, the other type of shape is angular. They have well-defined edges. They formed at the intersection of roughly planar faces. Their surface is rough and flaky. As I said, these are the flat particles, and they are not very much useful, and they do not contribute much to the strength of the concrete. So generally, the use of flaky particles or the elongated particles, they are avoided in the manufacturing of the concrete. So generally, either we use rounded shape or angular shape. So now again, we need to select which shape should be adopted in the concrete, or which shape of aggregate is best suitable in the concrete. Well, if we consider both of these shape of the aggregate, well, rounded aggregates are suitable in some criteria, like their surface is rounded. So the workability of concrete will be high if we use the rounded aggregate. But as their surface is smooth, then the interlocking forces, the interlocking space or interlocking force will be low if we use the rounded shape particle. So if we use, in place of rounded shape, if we use angular aggregate, then the interlocking force generated because of the angular particles, it will be very high, and the strength of concrete with angular particles will be high as compared to the concrete with rounded particles. So that is why angular aggregates are generally used in the concrete on account of the following two point of view. Well, as I said, angular aggregates exhibit better interlocking, and that is why this is the major advantage of using angular particles. The property makes it superior in concrete used for the roads and pavements. So these angular particles are best suitable for the construction of roads and pavements. And also the surface area of the angular aggregate is more, and the surface is rough, which is not smooth. So it means it will be having greater surface area, and the angular aggregate may show higher bond strength because the surface is rough. So the strength, they show higher strength, and the bond between the aggregate and the cement paste will be higher. So therefore, this higher surface area, well, there is a disadvantage, like for the higher surface area, we will be required more cement paste, and therefore we will end up using more cement paste. So it is not good for economical point of view, but the benefits it gives us, it generally overshadow the economical point in this criteria. So generally in construction we use angular particles. The another characteristic of the aggregate is the surface texture. Well, the surface texture of aggregate has significant influence on the fluidity of fresh concrete and the bond between aggregate and cement paste of hardened concrete. Well, the strength of bond between aggregate and cement paste depends upon the surface texture. Well, this bond is the development of mechanical anchorage and depends upon the surface roughness and surface porosity of the aggregate. We know rough surface, bond is the development, the rough surface have a better bond than the smooth surface, and an aggregate with this rough surface will have better bond than with the smooth surface. Similarly, an aggregate with smooth surface but having surface pores will also bond well on account of the suction of paste into these pores. So if there is a plain or smooth surface aggregate, but if on the surface if it has some pores, then what will happen is when the cement, these pores may suck the cement paste, and ultimately they will also form a good bond. So if we are using smooth surface aggregate but on their surface there are some pores, then they will also make good bond with the cement paste. So ultimately the surface texture is a very important to determine in the aggregate because it influences the property, mainly the fresh property of the concrete. So therefore some aggregate which appear very smooth may bond more strongly than one other other than the rough surface texture because on account of the presence of the pores. Another property that is absorption and surface moisture of the aggregate. Well, due to the presence of air bubbles which remain in a rock during formation or on account of the decomposition of certain minerals by atmospheric effect, minute holes are formed in it and they are commonly known as pores. So these pores, as I said earlier also, some aggregates may have pores, not some. Almost all aggregates have some minute pores because of the presence of air bubbles while the formation of the bedrocks. So all aggregates have some percentage of these minute pores and through which water can penetrate. So aggregate in naturally aggregate can be available in 3 or 4 states. So one common state which is desirable is when all the permeable pores are full and there is no water film on the surface. So aggregate may be in such condition like all the pores within the aggregates are full of moisture, but on the surface there is no moisture or there is no film of water. So such kind of aggregates will be known as SSD, which is saturated surface dry condition. Similarly, in this photo you can see 4 states of the aggregates. Well, one state oven dry, this state is not available naturally because but oven dry this state is we can get only after we make it oven dry. So this oven dry state can be used in when we are conducting some test in the laboratory. And the other state maybe which naturally occurs is air dry. So in air dry, some holes, some pores are filled with moisture and some pores may be filled with the air. In surface saturated dry, all the minute pores will be filled with the moisture, but on the surface there is no film of water. But in case of damp or wet aggregate, all the inner minute holes will be filled with the moisture, but at the same time the surface will also have some moisture, so there may be a film of water. So naturally aggregate may be air dry, saturated surface dry, or the wet aggregate. Now the point is, uh, which state of aggregate should be used in the concrete. Should we use air dry, should we use SSD, or should we use wet? Well, it should be noted that if the aggregate are dry, they absorb water from the mixing water, and thereby they will affect the workability of the concrete. And on the other hand, if the aggregate contains surface moisture, they contribute extra water to the mix and thereby increase the water cement ratio. So both these conditions are harmful for the quality of concrete. And in making quality concrete, it is very important that corrective measures should be taken both for absorption and for free moisture, so that water cement ratio is kept exactly as per the design. So that is why ideally we should use saturated surface dry aggregates, but practically it is very difficult to maintain this state of the aggregate. So there is a very important phenomena which occur in case of aggregate study, which is called bulking of aggregate. Bulking means increase in the volume of aggregate. Well, to understand the phenomena of bulking of sand, uh, basically what happens is a free moisture forms around a particle of aggregate, and this film of moisture exert what is called surface tension. So if I show you graphically, say there are some aggregates, and on their surface if there is some water, so this water exerts the surface tension, and ultimately this surface tension try to repel all these particles apart, and because of this repulsion the space is occupied by this water, this moisture, and ultimately what happens is the volume of all the particles increases. So this increase of volume is called the bulking of aggregates. So the force, the surface tension of water, it keeps the particle apart, and fine sand show more bulking. I'm saying if we compare bulking in coarse aggregate and fine sand, I will say fine sand exhibit more bulking as compared to the coarse aggregate. Well, it is interesting to note that bulking will increase with the increase in moisture content up to a certain limit, but beyond that limit, the further, beyond that, if we increase further moisture content, it will result in the decrease in the volume. And at a moisture content which represent the saturation point, the fine aggregate shows no bulking. So it is very interesting to see. So in the graph also, you can see up to 5%. If the moisture is around 5%, then the increase in volume in coarse aggregate is about around 20%. In the medium grading, it is around 30%, and in the fine grading, which is fine sand, the increase in volume at 5% moisture content, it is maximum. But as the moisture increases, you see this increment of the volume is again decreasing, and the actual volume of aggregate, we will see the actual volume of that aggregate. So this increment of volume because of the presence of some certain percentage of moisture, this is called bulking of aggregate. Well, this bulking of aggregate is very important if we when we measure the quantity of the ingredients of the concrete. before manufacturing the concrete. In that, this bulking of aggregate will be very important. The measurement or the batching of the uh, ingredients of the concrete. Well, this batching can be done in two terms. One is weight batching, the other is volume batching. In case of weight batching, there is no significant role of bulking because bulking is related to the volume. So in weight batching, we can determine the moisture content in the concrete and we can apply the corrective measures while maintaining the water cement ratio. But in case of volume batching, we will be required to understand the bulking of aggregate. We will be required to know how much volume is increased because of this, so that the amount of sand or amount of aggregate is not low as compared to the actual value which is supposed to be there. So this bulking of aggregate is very important in case of volume batching. So as I said, bulking, it shows completely unrealistic volume because of this phenomena. Now another important property which we use in aggregate, that is density and the specific gravity. Well, as I said earlier, to calculate the quantity of the ingredients of the concrete, mainly cement or aggregates, it is desired to know the space occupied by the aggregate particles and which are inclusive of the pores existing within the particles. So we use term density and bulk density. Density, we all know, it can be defined as mass per unit volume of solid material. So when we call it density, in that density is mass upon volume. Well, this volume is only the volume of solid particle. The pores present within the aggregate, they are not counted in case of density. But when we call the bulk density counts both of these things. It counts the solid particle, solid part of aggregate, and as well as the volume of the pores which are present within the aggregate. So generally in the calculation we use bulk density. So bulk density is defined as the weight per unit volume of both solid material and the pores volume inside a single aggregate. So bulk density can be mass or volume, mass or weight upon volume of solid plus volume of pores. So in the bulk density, it considers both of these things, and that is why generally we use bulk density while calculating the quantity of the aggregate. So this bulk density is used indirectly because this bulk density is used to calculate the another parameter of the aggregate, which is called specific gravity. So to be specific, in the calculation of ingredient quantity, specific gravity is used. So to calculate the specific gravity, we need to consider the bulk density of the aggregate. Well, the bulk density of aggregate, it depends on the packing. It depends upon the packing of the aggregate, the particle shapes and their size and the grading, and also the moisture content. Well, I just described the phenomena of bulking of sand. So bulking of sand may increase the volume and ultimately it will not show the correct value of bulk density. So it also depends on the moisture content. If the bulk density is high, it is the indication that there will be fewer voids to be filled by sand and cement paste. So it is desirable to have high density or high bulk density of the aggregate. And here the term that I have used, voids. This void refers to the space between the aggregate particles. So numerically, this void space is the difference between the gross volume of aggregate mass and the space occupied by the particle alone. So if the voids in the concrete are more, the strength of concrete will be low. So the approximate value of bulk density of aggregate, of normal weight aggregate, it ranges from 13 to 1750 kg per meter cube. Now, if we talk, as I said earlier also, in the calculation of aggregate or other ingredients of the concrete, we will be required a very important parameter which is called specific gravity. Well, specific gravity is again of two types. One is absolute or apparent specific gravity, and the other is bulk specific gravity. In the absolute, we consider only the solid part of the aggregate. So volume of solid part of the aggregate is only considered in case of absolute specific gravity, while in case of bulk specific gravity, the volume of pores is also considered, and that is why this specific gravity is important in the calculation of the aggregate. So this bulk specific gravity of the rock, this ranges from 2.5 to 2.8. So if the specific gravity low, then it indicates that there is a very high porosity, and this high porosity is very harmful in case this will affect the durability of the concrete, and the density of concrete will be greatly depend on the specific gravity. So in the next part, we will discuss about the strength and grading of the aggregate. Thank you.